Hello, welcome to the Freedom from Anger podcast. I'm joined today with Brady Foulk. He is a dog trainer. He has been for the past 5 years. His goal is to empower puppies, dogs, and their owners to achieve their greatest success and harmony at home and around town.
So, how many of the listeners here wishes that their dog would just listen better to them? If that's you, you're in the right place. But if you don't just wish that your dog listens better to you, but you wish you had your dream dog, my name is Brady. I am a professional dog trainer, and I help empower puppies, dogs, and their owners to have more success at home and around town while having fun. So I want you to celebrate yourself because you're in the right place right now, and I appreciate you being here.
Well, thanks for being on, Brady. So, what led you to becoming a dog trainer? That's not a very common job for most people. You've been doing it for the past 5 years. So, what led you to your current job slash passion?
Truthfully, it was a lot of pain, and it didn't start off that way though. When I grew up, we had dogs. We had German Shepherds and Labs and rescue dogs and all sorts. Some of them were a little bit too crazy for my family to handle. So we had to find a new home for them. But that's just what I thought dog ownership was like. But it didn't really sit right with me growing up. So when I got my own dog, I was like, well, this is going to be easy. I just got to love them more than my parents did. And I got to take them on more walks. Got to do a little bit of training. But other than that, it's going to be a walk in the park. It was not a walk in the park. My dog ate my carpet and he had accidents and he was terrible on the crate. He ate our Wi-Fi cable and there was a lot of pain up until the point to where I decided I had to do something about it. So I stepped up and I listened to just a short podcast similar to what we're doing right now. And I got just a few tips and tricks from a woman who I learned from, and I still continue to learn. And I started implementing those. And then I jumped into a small program to begin and just emptying myself of this information. And once I got my dog, it took probably about 6 months of training these things every single day and going through the trials and the errors and figuring out the right order of the games to have some success. Where he loved his crate, he would go in and out, listen to me, coming when called, and it's a safety thing. So we went on a whole voyage together, and then there's even more parts to that story. But I'm just curious how many of you, if you feel like this, or any of your listeners feel like this, just feeling like a total rock bottom and just being like, there's nothing, I don't know what to do, and they're right with that.
Oh, yeah. When we got our puppy, well, she really wasn't a puppy at that point, but she was a couple years old. Got her from a rescue, and I highly recommend it. It's a great thing to do. But she came with some trauma, some baggage from whatever place that she was in. And actually, the people that we got her from said that she was basically dropped off at the shelter, and the people that were dropping her off wanted her put down. And the people at the shelter was like, no, we're not putting this dog down. There's nothing wrong with this dog. And I wish it
Yeah.
still, yeah. And I wish it still had it, like her like mug shot, as I like to call it, because how the pounds, they'll take
Yeah.
pictures and stuff. So her mug shot, but yeah, I do think that she came with some baggage, and she's not very fond of children, small people. She's not a fan of.
Yeah.
Uh,
Who knows what happened?
yeah, she don't like people touching her feet. I know a lot of dogs are like that, but she definitely does not
Yeah.
like that.
Yes.
I know one time it took me, the vet, and the vet tech, all three of us, to hold her down long enough to clip her nails. And I never experienced that with like the dogs that I had growing up. They were just like, yeah, hey, whatever. But hers, she loses her mind.
It's funny how that happens too. If like this problem has never shown up before in my life, and now this new dog has it. And it's interesting. I believe dogs are spiritual teachers, and they're here. Each dog is given for a specific reason. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, definitely. You definitely learn patience, and it's really difficult at times, but It shows you just how we as humans are. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. We make our little puddles where we shouldn't at times, and it's going to upset people, but you have to allow them to, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I can't get mad at you for something that you have to do. So, yeah, I definitely believe animals are a great learning platform for life.
I totally agree. I think they are, again, one of the greatest spiritual teachers because, for example, you guys don't know who I am. I've trained many dogs in San Diego, over hundreds of dogs in San Diego. I taught in Texas, and I've been training dogs here. And I recently trained my first service dog, which was quite an adventure. And she's had one service dog before. And this dog was a gift from the universe. This dog kind of, when she adopted the dog, he was amazing, right? He was already able to do a lot of things, very calm, is very work oriented in his mind. And she went to a trainer, and like, this was like 7, 8 years ago, and got it all taken care of, but it was a walk in the park. And then her newest dog, right? So you can only have a service dog until they're 8, and then they have to retire. And so it takes time to train a service dog, as I'm sure most people know here. So you got to start planning in advance. So she got this new puppy thinking that it would be exactly the same as her last dog. Totally different. This puppy is wild, crazy. It's a Labradoodle, or a Golden Doodle, I'm sorry. And totally different than her other dog, right? And thinking like, oh, this is just how dog training is. And it wasn't. It turned out to be totally different. So that's when we found each other and started going on this journey together.
So,
But yeah, so we went on this journey together.
so they have to retire them at the age of 8?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I thought that once a service dog, I was a service dog, like a good Marine.
Yeah, a lot of people do. And that's another conversation, is like, how do you elegantly help a service dog retire? Because they want to keep working, but
Mm-hmm.
there has to be standards. And at a certain age, they don't perform as well, but they want to keep working. So you have to retire one elegantly and like send him off to his beach and margaritas and his dog bones and food. And then you keep this other puppy, how to retrieve a phone, how to open and shut a fridge to get a water bottle, how to do deep pressure therapy. Because to be a service dog is different than a therapy dog. A service dog has to be able to perform certain working duties. It's the rears. So that's always fun.
Yeah, and that's exactly the question I was going to ask. What's the difference between a therapy dog or an emotional support animal versus a service animal? And you said that service, like, they have to do stuff, not just be there, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's to be able to do it reliably too. So we went and stress test these behaviors. So I train everything at home first, and she know how to jump on your lap and put yourself in a wheelchair and do all this stuff at home. And then we went to IKEA and Target and Walmart and Home Depot and all these places and practice the same thing there, because she's got to be comfortable with sound, sights, and ignoring people. So it's a little bit more intense for sure than an emotional support or therapy in terms of the work involved.
Oh, yeah. So the person that you were working with, like, what were some tasks that the dog needed to be able to do to help this individual?
Yeah. Yeah. I will share these tasks, and I've touched on them a little bit already. Before I do though, I just want to preference and prime a few things, because most people don't know this, and it'll just help the audience. So these dogs are brilliant, and it doesn't matter to me the type or the breed or the age of the dog. All these dogs are able to learn if you do things in the right order. So along this journey that I've been telling you about, I discovered my dream method. And I'm going to go over a couple steps in the dream method and share some stuff that will actually help your audience if they want to learn. And I hope they're on here, they want to learn. You maybe take some stuff too, basic stuff that you can implement with your dog too, that will help us get to these places. And then also share what we did, the specific behaviors that we learned. But in dream, so let me tell you this dog loves to pick things up with her mouth, which is great, except for when it's stuff that you don't want, right? Like her medicine bottles or a shoe or a book or something like that, right? And a lot of the times we get angry at dogs and say, stop doing that. Don't do that, right? It's bad behavior. And yet, when we're training a service dog, we have to protect the dog's confidence because we need them to continue learning and to grow. And we got to look at things from a different angle. And one of the behaviors that we need is a really good retrieve. And she needs to be able to pick up pill bottles. She needs to be able to pick up her phone. She needs to be not her phone, but her owner's phone, right? Or a water bottle. So we had to show her, and the owner and I worked together to train her dog. And it was intense. It was sessions inside of her house. And then I took her dog for a 2-week board and training too. And we took her from changing the dog's focus and the owner's focus from stop doing that to I need you to pick me up this, or I need you to do this instead. And changing her focus, because where focus goes, energy flows. So a couple questions I have her, I asked the owner of the dog, I say, what do you need her to do? Right. And she goes, I need her to bring me these things. And so instead of stopping her from grabbing these things, we taught her how to bring them to her and then how to let go of it. So we trained a bomb-proof retrieve. So if your dog does grab something, you can tell her to come and then she can let go of it and drop it and you can take it from her. So just this subtle shift of what do you want your dog to do? What do you want to see them doing is the first step.
Yeah, and that definitely goes along with the last podcast that I did. We spoke about it earlier. And
Yeah.
he's definitely in the same vein of thinking as you are. We get wrapped up in thinking that dogs know right from wrong when actually they don't. And then we try to scold them. We try to train them using methods of punishment when positive reinforcement works just fine. It works better rather than just trying to hammer in certain thinking that the way they should act. So
Yeah.
he didn't mention any names, but he said there's a lot of people on TV. He said he cringes when he watches them train. So I could kind of guess who's probably talking about. I'm sure there's just as many in Australia as there is in the U.S. on TV.
Yeah, there's a lot of drama around it. There's a lot. But rather than stopping people from doing it, this is one thing that kind of gets on my nerves sometimes with dog trainers is they go straight to punishment to the other people that they don't like. And it's like, well, it's the same psychology, if like punishment doesn't work on dogs, it doesn't work on people either. So why can't we try helping there? We put way more effort in our energy to get our message out so people can't even hear the other noise, right? We just make what we want to do louder. And then, you reward the good behaviors. But I also want to point out, this leads us to the second step in the dream method, is the R means to remember your culture. And I share this because growing up, I don't know about you, but we played Monopoly. And it did not go well in our family. A lot of the times people would end up fighting. And there's a big family. There's 8 of us. I'm the oldest. And someone would end up crying. Someone would sell the property to someone. So we ended up just hiding in the closet to never be seen again. So my girlfriend and I visited a couple of years ago, and she loves games, right? She's had a lot of good interactions with games. She's learned a lot of things. But I was like, nah, you don't want to play games with my family. She's like, no, let's do it. And I was like, well, the only game we got is Monopoly. So we rally the troops. Everyone's like, okay, let's play Monopoly. We set the game down. First thing everyone does, reach in and grabs all the money, which grabs whatever they can. And my girlfriend's shocked. She's like, and they're, what are you doing? And they're like, whoever gets what money you get is just what you play with. And I'm like, see, this game just doesn't work. And she's like, no, everyone stop. Give me the money, put it back in the middle. I am now the banker. I'm the banker now. And so she took control of the money and then she split up all the money, right? And then we went over the rules. We'd never gone over the rules before, right? Like all the stuff that like actually needs to happen to make sure the game goes fairly. Like if someone goes bankrupt, where do the property goes? How do you bid? Get out of jail? You can't just make these things up. We just always had these random rules. And so fast forward, we were able to get through the game. But the point I want to bring up is create a culture. And the culture, positive is not permissive. And you can be firm with someone, like my girlfriend was firm with my siblings and said, give me back the money. Like I am in control when you get rewarded. And making sure that bad behaviors, bad patterns happen in humans, they happen in dogs. It's being firm on the bad behavior, but being kind to the good dog. like you said, we don't want our dog to pee in the house. There's no need to do anything mean to them. We do need to be firm that this is where you need to go potty outside. So we need to have a way to getting them from A to B in a firm way, but in a kind way through training. So a couple questions I had people just think about, and everyone's culture is different. Some people, they want their dogs on the couch. Some people, they don't want their couch. I don't know, but some of my clients do. And I ask them, write down, be very black and white with what do you want? What do you not want? And leave no gray area. And the gray area is never tolerated, right? So write down, what do you want and what will you not accept? Like stealing things off the counter. Well, if a dog jumps on the counter and steals something, I help them off the counter and then they go in their crate for a super small timeout, for like maybe a minute. And then I let the dog back out and then I see what their decision is. So they're going to jump on the counter again. And then we repeat the program. I go in there for a minute and then let them out. After doing that 2-3 times, the dog's like, I don't really want to go in my crate. I'm not going to jump on the counter. I don't have to be mean with them and yell at them or hit them or anything like that. It's just there's rules to the game. One of the rules is you don't put your paws on the counter. So I hope that helps a little bit with, we want to be positive, but at the same time, we have to have rules around the house and create a culture of what's allowed and not allowed. Yeah. That makes sense though.
Oh yeah, and I think like you definitely need to listen to my podcast with the dog behavior expert, because the exact example that he used is a dog jumping on the counter. Yeah, so hopefully you find a time. I think it's, I don't know, 45 minutes or so. It might be
Yeah.
longer, but yeah, it's very interesting. He actually has a website that vets and stuff can go on and basically kind of helps like diagnose like a dog's behavior and gives kind of like some
Really?
tips and some pointers and like how to move forward with each dog. I think it's like, I'm sure I'm off, but it's like $50 or something. But it's out there. It's on the podcast, so take some time to,
Yeah. Check it out.
yeah. And he's on Instagram. So anyway, a very nice guy. I'd love to talk to him again.
You and I would have a great conversation.
Yeah, yeah, he's definitely interesting guy. So I know, a lot of times we get upset with our dogs and our puppies. And I know for my dog, I don't know if I'm projecting it, but she knows when she's done something she wasn't supposed to do. And I think she does do things out of spite. If she's upset, she might make a puddle in the middle of the floor or outside of a door. If she feels she's being punished in some way, she has her ways.
Yeah.
So, and I think that we don't give our animals enough credit. I'm a dog person. I'm not a big cat person. I
Yeah.
think dogs have more personality. Cats, they kind of do their own thing. But I think to me, there's just more of a connection with dogs. And you can be upset with a dog, and then 2 seconds later, it's laying in your lap. It's very comforting. The one thing that probably ticks me off the most when it comes to my dog, and she's amazing at this. It's like she can just sense, like, hey, you're about to give me a pill, because I give her I forgot what it's called, but it's like her flea and tick, heartworm medication, all in one, and it's a little
Yeah.
pill, and those pills are expensive,
Yeah.
and I've tried everything. I mean, tried hiding it in every form of food known to man. She'll eat the food and spit the little. I mean, I'll break it up in 4 little pieces and put it in there, and she'll find a way to spit it out. And then you try to force it in, and she'll hold it in her mouth for 10 minutes, and then next thing you know, she spits it out. And it's not just that one pill; it's anything. She has a gift, and I've went so far of like trying to give her something where I literally take
Round it up.
grind it up and like just try to like shoot it in her mouth and dissolve it in water. And I mean, it's amazing how she's. I've never had a dog like that. Usually a dog, you just give them something, they eat it, but she just,
Yeah.
if it's something foreign to her, she's not going to take it. Oh, and it's very, very frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. Those type of behaviors are very interesting. It lead to the next point, effective execution and sequence. And dogs learn sometimes that, and I see this with jumping on counters. A lot of times that happens when you come home too. You come home and your dog jumps on you, and then you're like off, and then sit, and then they off and sit, and you tell them good job. So what do they learn really? They learn that they have to be bad in order to be good, and then they're rewarded by it. Or I worked at a farm refuge, and one of the pigs would go and bite people, and each time he went and bit someone, it's not appropriate, and they're positive. They're an animal refuge. So they took the pig and they put some treats in his pen, and he went over there and ate. And after doing this 3-4 times, the pig just learned, okay, I go bite someone and then I go get treats over here. So there's always a pattern that's happening with our dogs. And when I take a dog, I look to radically change the pattern in whatever way. So I'm sure the cabinet that you take your treat out of is the same, and how you do it is, and the time of month it is around the same. So I would start looking to like put the treat in a different place, right? And like, and she also smells the smell, right? So that means a certain thing to her. So maybe I'm not going to give her the pill until Tuesday, but on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I'm just going to take the pill around and I'm just going to wave it so you smell it and make it a little cream. And so now you're like, every time I smell this treat, he doesn't make me eat it, but I smell it and I get with cream. And so you change, you're subtly changing it in the background. And it takes like a little bit of planning and thinking. Like I said, you can't just do this in one session. It's something that you got to work up towards. But what it sounds like happened is you tried to trick her. She's too smart. And now you need to train her to re-like it, just like you would train a human to like broccoli. Start doing it. You'd add a lot of butter at first, and then maybe some salt, and you give them maybe just a little piece and some ranch. And then over time, you just like it a little bit more. Does that help?
Oh, yeah. And she definitely has her behaviors that the whole time I'm doing it, I know that all I'm doing is training her to, she has her one little spot in the hallway. It's right next to the kitchen. What's in the kitchen? Her treats.
But she goes pee.
Huh? No. She'll go out there and she'll just sit because she
Okay.
knows what I do. I go in there, I get her a treat, and then she follows me back to bed and she hops in bed. So that's kind of her routine. And she definitely has her routine. I know that. So she sleeps in bed with us, and I know for a fact it's like clockwork. Like she's gonna get up, she's gonna go out, then she's gonna want a treat, then she'll get up again because she wants a treat. And I know the entire time who's training who, you know.
Well, as long as you know that you're training her to go to that spot, it all works. Like my dog gets a bedtime cookie every night. And sometimes when he's hungry, his bedtime cookie's on his bed, right? And so it happens normally around 9-10 o'clock, but some nights he wants to eat at like 7-8 o'clock. So he just goes into his crate or his bed and just sits there and looks at me, and I go, "Oh, you want your bedtime cookie?" So you've done the same thing. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I think that they train us more than we train them. Like, okay, this is what's happening. I'm gonna whine. I'm gonna stay in this one spot, and I'm gonna whine, and I'm not gonna move until you get up and give me a treat, and then I'll follow you wherever you want me to go.
The sequence is a little mixed. We want them to do what we want, and then they get what they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're working on it, it sounds like. Your awareness of it first, but also it's culture, right? If you don't mind doing it, I don't mind if you do it either. It's just the things that people want to fix that I help with.
Yeah. But I think we've kind of fallen into a routine. It's just like, okay, this is how it is. And like whenever I leave for work, I give her a treat. And whenever I come back, guess what she's waiting on? She's waiting on a treat. And I can give her all the food in the world. She ain't having none of the food until she gets a treat. And a lot of times, if I'm in the kitchen or whatever, or if I'm eating something, she's like, "I want what you're eating," and I have to do this.
Oh, sign language all done.
Yeah, I'm done. And she'll look at me and she'll go, "Okay, now I'll eat my food." Holding out that hope for some scraps or something like that. She's definitely interesting dog. And well, come here. Yeah, show you my little dog. Come here. She's in her spot.
Yeah, how much does she weigh? Is she a little thing?
She's probably around 15 pounds or so.
Yeah, I just got a mini Aussie Doodle. She's at 15 pounds right now, and I have a regular side Australian Shepherd. He's much bigger. The small dogs are a little more fun. Oh, you got her. Oh, yeah. She runs that house. I can just tell. Look at that. She's adorable.
She's got a little mohawk.
A mohawk?
Yeah. And this is how her hair grows.
Oh, wow. Super cute. Really? You didn't? That's funny. Not from mohawk.
Yeah.
Cute. Yeah, give her an extra treat for me, please. I'm an extra special podcast guest, so.
She's like, oh, you woke me up. Oh.
Yeah. 3 treats then.
And she loves.
Yeah, my dog loves to make out. I made a joke when I was younger. I would take my dog on dates with me, and he would make out with more girls than I would. Nearly every seat, he had like a perfect score.
What's wrong? What's wrong? And she's a drama queen.
Yeah, more like that.
Yeah, if you pick her up, but she don't want to be picked up, she'll like yell or yeah. She's a hot mess, but you gotta love her.
Of course. Yeah, she's yours.
Yeah.
You got no other option.
Yeah. So real quick, and we'll wrap things up. I gotta hit the road here in a minute. And so if somebody's, and this is the exact question I talked to with the veterinarian that I talked to. So if you're looking for a trainer, what's some red flags? He said that a lot of the trainers, when you look out there, he said if they're guaranteeing quick results and this sort of thing, kind of like a boot camp type mentality, that's kind of a red flag because there's going to be a lot of negative so-called reinforcement. So what are your tips if somebody's looking for a good trainer? What should they be looking for?
Yeah, this is a really good question because, to be honest, I'm not your typical trainer. I'm not a behavioralist or have a special accreditation in some way. And I say this because each trainer, it's totally unregulated. So there is no specific way you're supposed to do this thing. A behavioralist, I would totally recommend if you have an aggressive dog or something is way old, you need maybe access to medication or someone to talk through a little bit more deeply. But if you're just looking to have your dog listen better and to be able to do more things with your dog, what I would encourage you to do is do your due diligence, right? Look up the trainer, see what method they use, because some trainers will use e-collars or prong collarly balance methods or at least minimally invasive, right? So like if I have to, like I'll put hands on your dog, but I try to avoid it, right? You got them, and then you have trainers who are just totally positive and they just give all the treats to their dog, and it just a lot of treats, and it's never showing your dog, hey, you made a mistake, we gotta have this. And then there's science-based trainers, right? And that's kind of more of the category that I fall into. You're totally correct. It's impossible to fix something very quickly. It takes time, and you have to condition things until they stick. Just like if you were to go to the gym for a week, you're not going to stay in shape. You have to train for your entire life. Otherwise, your dog is going to get worse if you're not growing, dying. So a couple questions you should ask is, what methods do you use? And then also, what type of guarantees do you have? So for example, I'm not going to guarantee that your dog's going to be perfect. And that's just not something I do. We have a conversation that training is an ongoing thing. It's not supposed to last forever. I don't want to be training with you for the rest of your life. I want to give you the tools so you can see this problem and say, oh, my dog's being bad in order to be good. How can I switch this and live in do land and show them what I want to do instead? And how do I train that behavior? So I say all this to tell you to do some research. And if you do end up in a session with someone that things don't feel right, advocate for your dog and say, hey, we're stopping the session, we're leaving. And be totally okay with saying that, because sometimes people will say something on the phone and then you get in and you're just like, you have to put hands on your dog. You got to show them that you're the alpha, you're dominant. No, that's not how a true leader in my mind works. A true leader inspires growth from the dog. A true leader inspires the dog to want to listen to you. And yet sometimes you have to stop people from stealing money, and you have to be firm with that, because there's dangerous things that could happen if your dog runs off and chases a bunny into the road. It's just not a safe behavior. So you have to be firm and kind with them, and yet you never have to lay your hands on them. So a little long-winded answer, but it is something that is not going away anytime soon. Doesn't seem to be any urgency to regulate the dog training industry. Oh, it's your search and finding people that align with your values, having a conversation with them and working together because it's a teamwork thing. I'm here to keep you more accountable more than anything.
Yeah, and something I brought up when I was talking to him, and I feel that a lot of us, we tend to resort to that corporal punishment because maybe that's how we were raised. If you do something
Mhm.
bad, you get punished, and we kind of do that towards our animals, thinking that they're little humans and that they can process things the way we do, when in reality, they're not human. They're an animal. So different methods are definitely called for. So the whole, if you make a mess, I'm going to rub your nose in it and hit you with a newspaper or whatever because you did a bad
Yeah.
thing. And that's just causing trauma to our dog because we really don't think about our dog's mental health. And I'm a firm believer that they do experience things and that they act on them just as humans do when it comes to their mental health. So we have to be very wary of that. If that was done to me, would I like it? Probably not. If I make a mistake
Yeah.
and I get hit with something, then it's going to leave some trauma and probably not going to act in the fashion that you want me to act in because I don't know how to process that because they're animals. They're not human.
Yeah. One, no, we could go way deeper into that. I just do want to clarify that dogs do realize this, right? And you have to realize what you're training. If you shove your dog's nose in their poop, what you're really going to train them to do is to hide from you when they go to the bathroom, right? And then they're just going to go poop behind your couch and you're not even going to know about it for a week.
Mm.
But if your dog goes to the bathroom inside your house, the consequence is being allowed to run around the house without supervision. And if you take advantage of that privilege, then I have to make sure that I monitor you more now. So now you're under supervision, which that in itself isn't the most fun. It's more fun to be able to do what you want. So it is still painful, but it's not the same painful as shoving your dog's nose in there. Does that make sense? You can't just not do anything about it. Like you have to be like, okay, so now if I can't keep an eye on you, you're in your crate and we're going to train the crate so you love your crate. And then I'm going to make sure that I take you out to go pee before I leave you around the house unattended. But your routine still changes, but it's still painful to them. So pain and pleasure are still driving force in a dog's life. It's just you don't use physical punishment, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, it's a fine line between showing your dogs the rules to the house and just letting your dogs run the house. And I walk into some puppies' houses and their dog biting things for sure, and they're handing out treats to them. I was like, guys, like there's got to be some structure. You can't just be taking money out from the banker and just spending it how you want. Like we got to have rules to this game so that way everyone can be happy. Like your dog's happy, totally, but are you happy? Like, no, this guy's running my life. And I'm like, okay, so let's find some balance and understand like what's acceptable and what isn't acceptable, Just like good parenting. Some kids end up really, they think that they own the world. And it's like, no, dude, you obviously haven't worked a day in your life because it's not how things work in real life.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Anywho, we talk about it all day.
All right. Thank you so much for being on. I'm sure listeners will definitely, hopefully, gather some knowledge, and I really like your methodology of training. Really falls into the last people that I interviewed. So it really, I definitely have a lot to learn, and I think it will definitely help my, I call her a puppy, but she's probably at least 5 or more. But yeah,
Yeah, it's funny. Each year you're like, how old are you again?
yeah.
Well, I will be
So
7 this year.
yeah, yeah.
But no, I
So
appreciate you having me on and giving me a place to share some of these things and being so thoughtful with your questions. It means a lot to me to be able to share it. If you have any more questions, you can message me on Instagram at N as in Nancy, D as in dog, dog training. So ND dog training. And I'm posting the stories of the dogs that I'm training on there daily. And I'm sharing some tips and tricks that you may find helpful. Then we can chat more too.
all right. Well, I appreciate it, Mr. Falk, and thank you so much for being on. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me, and hopefully we can talk in the future. because we all love our pets. A lot of times they are our surrogate children, and
That they are.
yeah, and as with raising a child, it takes work, it takes time. Be patient, and we're all going to make mistakes, whether we're human or a dog.
Amen.
All right. That was our interview with Brady Falk. A great guy. Hopefully, you learned a little bit about the dog training process. If you're in the Austin, Texas area and you got a dog that needs some work, give him a shout. His Instagram is ND Dog Training. Website is newdirectiondogtraining.com. He posts a lot of good videos on Instagram with some of the dogs that he's working with. So check that out. And as always, if you have anybody you think would be a good guest, or there's a topic that you want to learn more about, I'll see if I can find somebody. Just go to our website, freedomanger.com. Shoot me an email. And before I forget, our social medias on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now is anger_LLC. Our Instagram and YouTube page is the same name. It's Freedom from Anger LLC. So easy to find there. I try to post videos and stuff on there. I think that's about it. As always, stay safe.